And welcome in everybody to the Summit City Sports Report number 35 with East Noble head coach Alex Stewart, Thad Goff joining us as well. Coach, what a fantastic season that you guys are having, and now you're all the way up to number 2 in the polls. It's got to feel good that the rest of the state is recognizing what your boys were able to do in the regular season.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cool thing to be ranked highly in the state, and especially in the Indiana Football Coaches Association poll. Knowing that your team has the respect of the coaches, but at the end of the day, none of that really matters. All that matters is winning in the tournament.
Hey, Coach,
Yeah.
taking over a program for the first time, certainly never an easy thing to do. It's your first year at East Noble, and you've led the team to a Northeast State Conference championship. 7 straight wins to close out the regular season. How well have the kids bought into what you've been teaching since you got here?
Yeah, the buy-in's been great. The culture here was already it was a fantastic culture when I got here, and there's a lot of great things in place, a good coaching staff, a good core of returning starters, and a good feeder system. So through my process here, it's just been a really good buy-in from the kids and the community and everybody.
Coach, talk about the way that you finished up the regular season there. You're at New Haven and you're at Belmont. The team did exactly what you would expect them to do, so there was no hiccups along the way. Um, I don't want to say were you surprised by that, but how proud were you that these guys finished strong, even though, the opponent wasn't a game that you're really getting up for like a Columbia City or a Leo?
We always talk about trying to get better each week, and that was the focus each week of the last couple weeks of the regular season. We knew that we were playing a couple struggling teams who were trying to get things going, and our biggest emphasis was on us and us trying to play our best football heading into the tournament.
And which guy throughout that stretch do you feel like has made the greatest strides as far as getting better from week number 7 through week number 9?
When we talked last time and you asked me, who was going to be the playmaker that stepped up and played really well in that Columbia City game, I said Riley Biddle, and
Yep.
He's played fantastic, and he's really come on strong the second half of the season, and has come into his own and is really playing well.
Coach, yeah, sorry, one more. When I see the ball leave his hand, I don't know that I've seen another electric arm like his. I mean, the biggest comparison closest is probably Jimmy Sullivan at Carroll. But how special, unique are you seeing when the ball leaves his hand?
Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to look. I mean, it's beautiful, and it's great seeing that. He's got a bunch of different kids that he can throw it to, and just a bunch of different playmakers, and he distributes the ball across the field. And obviously, Mason Trish is our leading receiver, but we've got a lot of different guys that he gets the ball to, and we've got a lot of different playmakers.
And speaking of Riley Biddle, from what I've seen from him, he seems to get the ball out really quick, doesn't seem to hold on to it very long, at least not a whole lot. That oftentimes that speaks to a quarterback who's a very good decision maker, very good at reading the defense. Would that be how well is Riley doing at those aspects?
Yeah, he's doing a great job. He's a 4.0 kid, so he's very smart. He's very cerebral. Watches a lot of tape. When we sit down in the film room, he's very engaged. And when the coaches are talking to him about, hey, like this is the read we're looking for. Why did you make this decision? He understands, and you can tell he understands coverage, and he understands where his people are supposed to be and when they're supposed to be there. And you can tell by watching film that his timing with his receivers has gotten better and better as the season goes on, and they're playing really well, and they're in sync right now.
Coach, looking at it, 39 carries entering the postseason. Are majority of those designed runs for him?
Yeah. I mean, we don't run Riley a ton. He's a kid that he's got the ability to run. He's not necessarily got a bunch of breakaway speed, but he does a great job running the power read play for us. And, we've used him a little bit on design run plays, but we're not trying to run him a ton. He's an extremely valuable player for us back there throwing the football. And, We want them upright as much as we can. And, we've got 4 or 5 really good running backs back there who we can distribute the ball to if we want to run the ball. So we don't want them to take that beating.
Yeah, and the only reason I ask that is because when I see him in the pocket, I mean, he's cool under pressure. He's not the kind of guy that's just going to take off and run from what I've seen. Is that a good description?
Yeah, absolutely. He's got, we talk about having quiet feet in the pocket, and that's something early on. You hear the phrase happy feet.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterbacks are, fleeing the pocket, and we talked about having quiet feet, and he does, and he stands back there, and he trusts his offensive line, and those guys have done a good job of protecting him, and he's getting the ball out in time. He doesn't hold it too long, and he's just doing a great job back there.
And of course, a big strength of yours is your running game. You mentioned you got a lot of backs that you lean on. Dylan Krell and Dallas Plattner are your 2 top rushers. You've mentioned some of the qualities that those guys have. They both are strong. They run hard. They have great vision. Those are excellent qualities to have in any running back. How valuable is it to have 2 backs like Dylan and Dallas that complement each other so well?
Yeah, they're a great 1-2 punch. They're both kids that can run through tackles and set up their blocks and do a good job of seeing the holes and making good cuts. And they're both just kids that get behind their pads and run hard. And, they're going to get you 2 or 3 tough yards if that's all that's there. And, they both have the ability to break long runs if the crease opens up.
Yeah, Coach, and obviously you got great running backs. Krell is one of the best players in Northeast Indiana, but you're looking at the running backs, and Ramey and Phillips are only sophomores, averaging 8.6 and 7.5 yards per carry, respectfully. Talk about these sophomores and what you're seeing from them.
Yeah. They've each had a 100-yard game at different points in the season, and they're Alex Phillips is more of a dual threat kid. We play him at running back. We play him at slot. He can do a lot of things for us. Ian Ramey's more of a true running back, and Ian had a really big game for us in the New Haven game. Dallas Plattner was a little bit banged up, and we wanted to make sure that he was healthy and ready to go for the tournament. So Ian got a significant amount of carries in that game and rushed for over 100 yards. And we've got those sophomores, but the seniors are the guys who have Dallas and Dylan have done the work, and they're the guys that we're going to lean on really hard here in the tournament.
Yeah, on your defensive side, you got a lot of great players up front. Dylan Krell, we talked about him as a running back. He's also making an impact for you on defense. So is Kobe Ritchie, Pace Agee, and Gavin Sparkman. Those guys are part of your front 7. How well-rounded would you say your front 7 is, particularly those 4 guys I just mentioned?
Yeah. Our front 7's done a phenomenal job all season. A lot of those guys are returning starters, and Pace Agee was dinged up a little bit and was able to get back and play last week, and we've got him back here going into the tournament. Gavin Sparkman is our nose man, and he's the kind of the unsung hero of the defensive line. He's a guy that he gets double teamed almost every single play. He's got an incredible motor. Trace Kane's our other starting defensive lineman. He played his best game of the season against New Haven. He had 4 tackles for loss. That was almost overshadowed by the fact that, our secondary played so well and had 6 interceptions. You almost didn't notice that Trace Kane had 4 tackles for loss, and that's a great game. But the linebacking core with Dylan Krell and Jake Ramey inside and Kobe Ritchie and Dallas Plattner outside, those guys are doing a great job of doing their job and getting to the football. And our outside linebackers, their job more to turn it back in and make sure that the stuff doesn't get to the outside. And our inside guys are doing a good job of filling, and our secondary's flying all around and making plays all over the place. And it's just great to see those guys just working in sync together.
Yeah, Coach, we got about 7 minutes left with you. Southside here, your next opponent, coming in with a 2-7 record. It's the first time they've hit 2 wins in 4 years. Coach Goodwell doing a good job there with the Archers. And they come in with a solid defense. You can see Northside didn't even score an offensive touchdown against them. What are you seeing from that defense at Southside that you guys maybe feel like you can attack, or what do you feel like are some of their strengths?
Coach is doing a great job there, and you look at their schedule, and they've played a really good schedule, and there's a lot of games on there where it's been tight games, and they've dropped a couple tight games, and they're probably we always talk about in a football game there's a handful of plays that if they go different, it's at a different game.
Right.
You're talking a handful of plays over the course of the season that they might come into this tournament feeling a lot different about themselves from a record standpoint. But defensively, they've got some really athletic kids, and they do a good job of moving them around. And those kids run to the football really well, and it's just it's a good unit, and they've been playing really well as of late.
Thad?
Well, obviously your secondary has a lot of really good athletes as well. One guy who's having a real good season is Logan Hatton. 4 interceptions, 191 yards, also plays receiver. How much of an impact does Logan make on your secondary?
Yeah, Logan's he's having a great season. He's fantastic. He's had several interceptions returned for touchdowns, and pass breakups. And one thing that goes almost unnoticed because our front seven is so good is the fact that Logan is playing downhill, and he's making plays. The tackles he makes a lot of times are right at the line of scrimmage, and plays that on a lot of teams that would be a 4 or 5 yard gain. He just erases because he gets downhill so fast and is able to take that away.
And talking about Southside, one of their offensive strengths is their running game, and you've gone up against some teams that can run the ball really well. Teams like Snyder, Leo, Columbia City had a real good game against Columbia City. So you're familiar with teams that have the running game as a strength. How much does that help you in preparing for Southside? I mean, I'm sure there's differences in schemes and everything, but how much does it help you in preparing for Southside, knowing that you've had that experience of going up against teams with great run games?
Yeah, I mean, we schedule the tougher games early in the season, particularly Snyder, because we want to be prepared for our conference, which has a lot of tough teams in it. And then, we play a great schedule within the NE8, and we've got some teams that do a good job of running the football, and that does prepare you when you see those hard-nosed teams in the tournament. Because at this time of year, as most teams will tell you, you've got to be able to run the football. With Indiana weather being what it is, on a given Friday night, it could be windy, it could be raining. So teams are going to really get behind their run game here in the tournament. And knowing that, offensively for us, we're great at running the ball, and defensively, we're great at stopping the run. It's a great feeling going into the tournament, but every Friday night's different.
Yeah, Coach. And, some people are saying, well, East Noble hasn't seen the kind of athletes that Southside's bringing since maybe week 2 against Snyder. But, the one thing I've noticed about you guys is your defensive backfield, your skill position players on offense are extremely athletic. I mean, you as a coach in your 10th year overall, do you feel like this team is one of the more athletic teams that you've ever coached?
Yeah, absolutely. Our kids are extremely athletic. On the defensive side of the ball, we've got a lot of speed, and our kids get to the football really well. And offensively, we're athletic, and even our offensive linemen, they're big guys, but they move really well, and they're very agile. And we've just got a good overall group that's athletic and has worked hard, and their hard work's paying off for them.
Yeah. Thad, do you have one more here? We got about 3 minutes left with Coach.
Well, I guess I'll throw this in. We talked about how it is your first season with East Noble. Have you found yourself having to change anything scheme-wise, or have schemes been pretty much the same to what you would have run, say, at Northwestern or one of the other schools you might have coached at before you took over at East Noble?
Schematically, on the offensive side of the ball, particularly, we're quite a bit different than I was at Western and Northwestern. There, we didn't have as many of the athletes. We had some athletes, and when we had those guys, we'd spread it out and throw it more. But we had a lot of big, strong, physical kids, so we'd get in 2 tight ends, and we were a lot more power run game oriented with less passing. And, so we've thrown the ball quite a bit more than I had in the past, 3 or 4 years. And, back in 2020, we had a really good quarterback at Western and we threw it quite a bit. But, a lot of times we were putting our best athlete at that position and using him essentially as another running back. So, schematically it's a little bit different, but, we're still power and counter oriented mostly in the run game. We do run inside zone, but power and counter is kind of our bread and butter. And then, defensively, I usually used a hybrid of the 4-2 and the 3-4. And this season with the athleticism that we have on the defense, Coach Robertson's leaned towards the 3-4, and it's been fantastic for us. But, they've got the ability to jump into 4-man fronts all the time and 3-3 stack a little bit. So we're multiple, but it's been a good transition, and having those assistants on staff that had things in place already has been huge.
Coach, entering this season here, was state a goal for this team? I mean, a lot of these guys were starters as sophomores 2 years ago, and they took some lumps there, and it just felt like through the years these guys have grown together to where, one of the more impressive teams that you're going to see play football in Northeast Indiana. But when you guys set out preseason goals, was that one of them?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of talk of that, and more so that this team has the ability to get there, but it was going to take a lot of hard work and dedication, and a lot of improving week by week to get there. And so our goal has always been to just be playing our best football heading into the tournament. And I think we're at that point, and hopefully it continues to trend in the right direction for us.
Well, Coach, we wish you the best of luck. We'll be out in Kendallville tomorrow, the best atmosphere in northern Indiana.
Absolutely.
And we wish you the best of luck tomorrow and going forward. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Go Knights.
Coach Alex Stewart joining us, Thad. And yeah, we did talk with Coach Goodwell, and I don't think that East Noble's going to beat them by 40 points like maybe some people are thinking, but I do think that this is a Knights team that's a heavy favorite for that to win that sectional 19.
Well, there's no question about it. This is a Knights team that does just about everything well, whether you're talking about the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. And Southside, they're definitely improving. They definitely got some confidence after beating Lures earlier this season. That was a marquee win for the program and for Coach Goodwell. He's a former Lures assistant coach, but I think it's definitely going to be a good game. At the very least, early on, it will be a good game. But again, this East Noble team, they have been tested. I mean, this is probably an unsung aspect of their schedule. The Northeast State Conference has become very competitive. Columbia City, we've seen the improvement under head coach Brett Fox that they've gone through, winning the NE8 2 years ago and coming up just a game short of it this year. There's definitely an improvement that's taken place at Columbia City. Leo's hardly missed a beat, even with a coaching change and change of scheme, if I'm not mistaken. Huntington North's on the up and up under Coach Eschbach. And East Noble was able to handle all three of those teams, handled Columbia City extremely well. So the Knights, they're being battle tested, certainly is a benefit to them going into this game. How much of a benefit will it be? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Southside, easily playing their best football that they have in 4 years. They got a little bit more depth with 90 guys on the roster. Who do you think on Southside could cause some real problems for East Noble's defense on the offensive side of the ball?
Well, I'd like to say Chris Moon, because I've seen the way he plays. He's a downhill runner, hard-nosed runner, but at the same time, I think East Noble, they're familiar with that. I think Josiah Malone is a weapon in the running game and as a receiver as well, and I think he's dynamic enough that if he can get free out on the edges as a receiver, and if they can create room for him in the running game, he could very well cause havoc for that East Noble defense.
Yeah, and I love in our interview with Coach Stewart how you brought up Logan Hatton because Logan Hatton, I mean, he's just as athletic as anybody there in that defensive backfield for East Noble. So going to make it really hard on that Southside offense. But yeah, the Southside defense, that's going to be a fun matchup as well with this East Noble offense. I don't see really any flaws with this East Noble offense with the way Riley Biddle's been slinging it.
There's very few flaws. We talked about Riley and his decision making. It's been good to hear what Coach Stewart had to say about him. His decision making has been great. He gets the ball out quick, doesn't hold on to it a long time, and that I think that does speak to his decision making. I think it also speaks to how well a job the receivers are doing in running their routes. And Coach Stewart alluded to it. They got so many weapons they can throw to, whether it is Logan Hatton or Mason Treesh or Landon Swager. I think Swager had some big catches in the Leo game, or Jordan Borders, who I do believe, by the way, is a Jackson College commit for baseball, if I'm not mistaken.
Excellent. Yeah, looking at Jordan Borders, he caught the first 2 touchdowns in that Columbia City game. I think entering that game, he only had 1 reception on the season. That says, yeah, that's Columbia City. So you see 3 catches there. He had 1 catch against Belmont for 62 yards. Jordan Borders goes 6'2", 190 pounds. I mean, he is a big target, and he's a really good wide receiver for him. So just to your point, Thad, they are deep at that position. When you look at Treesh and you look at Borders and you look at Logan Hatton, I know I'm missing one, but that's a strong unit with this squad. Yeah, the other one being Landon Swager, he's made some of the greatest catches that you'll see when we're talking about that Leo game.
Yeah, it's definitely an excellent receiving core that East Noble has at their disposal, and that's I think a big reason why they were able to knock off Leo earlier this year. Southside up front, they've got some guys who can definitely make an impact. So I think they'll definitely be ready for this East Noble run game with Dylan Krell and Dallas Plattner. How will they be able to defend the passing game? We'll see how that works out. But Dietrich Smith is having a real good season for them, whether it's that block PAT against Lures or his 2.5 sacks this year. He's only a sophomore, by the way. But up front, I think Southside's definitely got something going defensively. Maybe they can help to slow down this East Noble run game. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, in order to do that, then you got JT Timberlake Johnson on an island back there at safety. So he's going to have to cover a lot of ground, and I know he's up for that. But I kind of agree with you that I think Southside can stick around in this game. But later on, as kind of when you get to the second tier guys, you're too deep. I think that's where kind of East Noble's going to maybe pull away in this one. But I definitely – we had the Swami up here said East Noble by 38. What do you think, Thad? Do you think East Noble wins this game by 38?
I don't know. I don't like picking games that I'm broadcasting, but I think if this could very well be one of those games that comes down to, it has the feel going into it of maybe it's close early on, maybe it's even close at halftime, but if East Noble can continue to run the ball down Southside's throat, they could easily wear them down in the second half. That's just the kind of team that East Noble has.
Yeah, they do. They have the offense and defensive linemen that can definitely do that with their athleticism and their size. So, well, Thad, thanks for joining on the interview, and it'll be you and I in Kendallville tomorrow. Going to be a great atmosphere. We got a 7:30 p.m. start, correct?
That's what I've been told by Athletic Director Luke Amstutz, the former head coach, by the way.
Yeah, doing a great job as the athletic director too. And boy, he turns into the biggest East Noble fan on game day on the sidelines. I see him over there pumping his fist and just getting excited for the guys that he coached for so many years. And I got a chance to talk with him. He said their sophomore class is pretty good over there at East Noble as well. So they're just getting back to that dominance in the NE8, and I think East Noble is going to be on top for a little bit.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised, especially since we got to look at a couple of those sophomores Ian Ramey's one of them in their backfield. It looks like there definitely are good things to come for the future varsity players at East Noble.
Yeah, most definitely. Let's just take one look at it before we sign off here. Your leading wide receiver, Treesh, is a junior. Then you're going to lose the next. I mean, losing Hatton and Swagger and Borders, that's going to be tough right there. But you got Phillips on the come up, and then Conley is another guy that we'll have to keep an eye out on. And then running the ball, obviously Krell and Plattner are seniors, but you got the two sophomores right there, and then Biddle comes back. So, yeah, bodes well for the Knights. But first, let's tackle week 1 in sectional play. This is week number 10, IHSAA postseason, and it's going to be Southside heading over to East Noble, the number 2 ranked team in Class 4A. Honestly, I thought East Noble was getting disrespected, I guess you could say, in the polls for probably the first 7 weeks. But, now they I think the state has East Noble where they belong, number 2 in the polls. That's pretty dang good for them. And if we look at it, number 1, New Pal. I mean, how much success has New Pal had? So pretty good right there. I think the polls are getting it right.
Yeah, I think so. I think East Noble has definitely not only the record to deserve that high ranking, but also the toughness and the competition that they've faced kind of helps to aid how much they deserve a number 2 ranking.
Are you surprised that Columbia City's at number 5 and Leo's down here at 11?
Maybe more surprised that Leo's down there at 11. Not so much surprised that Columbia City's at 5th. Columbia
Agreed.
City had a great run, and the Columbia City is one of those old school teams, if you will. They don't throw the ball a whole lot, even though they've got a good quarterback who's capable of being successful throwing the ball a lot. But they pound it down your throat. They run the ball and they run at you in so many directions.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Foster, the running back over there, Leo, I think he could be one of the, if you were to put an award out for the best running back in Northeast Indiana, that's one guy that you're going to have to consider over there at Leo.
Yeah, Foster had an outstanding season this year, and best wishes to him. He had to leave the game against DeKalb this past week. I was told that he had a concussion, so don't know if he'll be able to go this week. Lord willing, he'll be able to go next week. That's just my best case scenario, just throwing things out there. But Nathan Foster has put together an incredible season. First year starting running back. There's obviously a lot of great running backs at Leo that have gone before, and Foster, you deal with a little bit of pressure when you go into a situation like that, but Foster has dealt with that extremely well and has had an outstanding season.
Yeah, and if you look at it, Thad, this is the last time East Noble is going to play in Kendallville during this sectional round. About the only way that maybe they host again is if Wayne were to win out, and then Wayne would have 2 home games, so maybe they'd give it to East Noble there.
Possibly. Now, we know that East Noble has gone into Leo and gotten a win there in the regular season. Of course, things can be a little bit different in the playoffs. They went to Leo last year and didn't come away with the win that time. Kind of interesting, though. Last year when East Noble played Leo won 14-7 in the regular season, low-scoring game, much more high-scoring in the postseason. 45-42 was the final.
Boy, was it an exciting game, too. I mean, that one went all the way down to the wire right there. And, yeah, you know what? I feel like last year for East Noble, oh, that's Leo. So last year for East Noble, I felt like this New Haven game was kind of a turning point for that offense. I mean, obviously, here against Columbia City, winning at 35-0, but boy, this was a highly sought after matchup with all the studs that New Haven had last year. and Dylan Krell just did some amazing things in that game. And then you see it 70, 43, 42. Really all season long they were scoring a bunch. But yeah, that Leo game, that was a dogfight right there. And they lost that one early on. But you know what? The season they're having this year is fun to be a part of, and I'm excited for tomorrow night.
Absolutely. I'm definitely excited for that game tomorrow night, and I think it's going to be a fun matchup. We'll see how it goes.
Yes, sir. Well, that's that golf. We had head coach Alex Stewart on the show with us tonight, and we're going to see his Knights in action, the number 2 ranked Knights in the Class 4A tomorrow night, 7:30 against Southside. It's going to be a fun game to watch. So please make it out to Kendallville and get your seats early and support the guys. And if you can't, you can go to ihsatv.org and watch the broadcast. So thank you, everybody. That's That Golf. I'm Jeff Mahoney, and we appreciate you spending some time with us.
Good night, everybody.